Hey, what's up guys? John here. In this video, I'm gonna teach you how to house hack and live for free inside of one of your apartments, inside of a building that you own with very little money out of pocket. I'm gonna teach you how to do it step by step. Very just simple, clean cut, and easy. When I was young, about 12 years old, living with my dad in this really nice house, like a 3,000 square foot house in the suburbs. Things are great. Then the blink of an eye, he almost lost everything. We moved in this tiny little spot in like a pretty sketchy area with no heat, no AC, no electrical, no running water. We slept on an air mattress together for the whole winter, and it sucked. It was like hell on earth. And it taught me a very valuable lesson. And that lesson is that you should always plan for a worst case scenario. You just always should, and this I think was the best thing that ever happened to me. Like looking at it as I'm older, because it taught me young that things can change quickly, and if you're not prepared, things can get bad. So that being said, it changed the way that I look at money, it changed the way that I invest my money, it changed the way that I live. And I think ultimately because of that, I'm gonna assume a lot less risk, and I'm gonna always have more money than I need, and I believe more security. More security is gonna be the best thing for me. So that being said, I'm gonna teach you step one, which is getting into your first deal, house hacking, and keeping your expenses low through a small multi-unit apartment building. Let's begin. Please hit that like button. This will push the video out more to more potential subscribers who ultimately will learn about what we care about, which is making money, real estate, passive income, and business. And hit the subscribe button if you have not already for new, consistent educational videos. All right, guys, let's begin. Step one is getting the loan, getting financed, so you can actually move forward and buy this deal. Because once you get the financing in order and you get that pre-approval letter and you're told, yeah, you can go ahead, you can buy something for $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. You're like, awesome, let the hunt begin. But until you have that, you're constantly wondering, can I actually qualify? Can I actually buy this property? So getting qualified is simple, and it takes probably 5 minutes or 10 minutes of your time to see if you qualify. You literally go on Google or Yelp and you look for a mortgage broker in your area. And you hop on the phone with them and you say, hey, I want to buy a property. Can you help me? And of course they're going to want to help you, because that's how they get paid. They're paid strictly on commission. If they don't sell any loans, they make diddly zero for the year. So they're going to do whatever they can possibly do, especially in these uncertain times right now. They're going to be really aggressive trying to help you get a loan. So that being said, they're going to look at your credit score. And if your credit score is kind of shaky, I'm going to ping a video right here that I did to teach you how to get to an 800 credit score for free. And if your credit is not an issue, then they're going to look at your last 2 years tax returns, see that you have stable income, and then ultimately after that, they're just going to help you get pre-approved. So that being said, once you actually have the pre-approval letter, your issue might also be that you're tight on cash. Maybe you only have 10 grand or 20 grand, 30 grand in the bank, and you're unsure if you have enough money to get started. Well, there is an FHA loan, which is a federal housing loan, and how this works, pros and cons, but how this works is that every year you're going to pay 0.8% in mortgage insurance. So this actually, in my opinion, is a fine situation, because 0.8%, if you borrow $100,000, you're going to pay $67 a month. And then if you borrow $200,000, you pay $150, $160 a month. It's fine for the time being, because you only pay that until you have 20% equity in the property. Now, what equity is if you own a property and this property is worth $100,000, you owe the bank $80,000, and you have 20% equity, and they'll get rid of that monthly fee. So you literally just refinance out, and you just call the bank and say, hey, I want to refinance out of this mortgage, and they just refinance you out of it. They'll send an appraiser out, refinance you out of it, and then you no longer pay the fee. But the upside is that with an FHA, I'm going to link the requirements right here. So take a pen and paper out and write down these requirements. Then you can qualify for these deals with much less, in terms of credit score. You can get to like 500, 580 credit score, less down payment, less cash out of pocket, and it's simple and easy, and it gets you out of rent. Rent is the biggest waste of cash, because every single year the landlord's jacking rent 3%. So you might spend $1,500 this year or $2 grand this year, but if you continue down this road, after year one, you might waste 20 grand or 30 grand. And then you do that for 4 or 5 years before you know it, you're like, damn, I could have bought my own property. And not only that, I would have rode the tax benefits and collected all this passive income from all these other units. Like I would have crushed it, I would have killed it. But instead, I didn't pick up the phone and get on the phone with mortgage broker. So that's step one. All right, so let's say that you got qualified for 300K. You're like, well, damn, everything in my neighborhood's 500K. I can't buy anything. You know, this sucks. Well, no, this is where things get really interesting, really positive, and just amazing. Because what happens is now you can say, okay, I'm gonna go buy a fourplex because I'm a smart person and I'm not gonna buy a house because a house is a liability. And if I buy a house and I lose my job or something happens and I'm completely screwed. So you go, I'm gonna go buy a fourplex. Only for the main reason, not only just because it's more, intelligent, is because you can actually qualify and buy something for much more. So you might qualify for a $300,000 house, but with a fourplex, you might qualify for 400 or 500,000. And you're like, okay, well, how? Well, because the lender's looking at the rents you're getting from 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they're saying, Tom only makes $30,000 a year, but they're making money in all these units, and that's going to go straight towards Tom's income. Now Tom can go buy this property, buy something much more expensive, and they'll gladly sign off and give you permission to buy that property, because that is an asset. And your house, on the other hand, is a big fat liability that they're looking at, and they're saying, well, can Tom actually afford this property? Can he? I don't think so. We're not going to give him the loan. But with that fourplex, you'll get it. So you do an owner occupied, you move into one of those units, the other 3 units are rented. And this is where it comes down to understanding your market, understanding your strategy, what type of deal you should be looking at. So I personally see in the future is a big affordability crisis. And this affordability crisis is going to impact all investors. And I see a huge housing market crash coming. The 2008 one was pretty much just a mortgage collapse, and banks were getting bailed out, and there was big issues. But now what we're having is not just an economic issue. We have a health issue. We have an affordability issue. We have all these investors that bought properties over the last 5 and 10 years at 4, 5, and 6% returns, and now you're seeing these expensive cities. Rents are getting reduced even greater than that. So now you have all these investors in all these expensive cities now operating their buildings at a loss. And that loss is only going to grow over time. And as that loss grows, then they're going to have to start selling off assets, and supply and demand. There's a lot more people that want to sell than want to buy. Prices are going to come down. And if prices come down, opportunity is going to be there for you. Now, if you're looking at a building and let's say all the units are renting for $1,000 and you go on apartments.com or Craigslist, one of these third-party websites, and you're like, well, I can rent mine for $1,500 according to all the comparables. Well, that is a great sign. And if you live in Florida or Texas or any other state that allows you to increase rents at the end of a lease, then this is a golden ticket, because you're able to simply increase the rents by doing small adjustments. You simply look at apartments.com or Craigslist and you look at what these units are like. Are they light and bright? Are they very, white paint, big windows? If this is what it takes to increase the rent $500 per month, then it might be worth it. If $6,000 per year in an increase, if you go spend $10,000 or $5,000 or whatever the number is, it's definitely worth it, because what happens is that this increases the value of your property. And when you go call the appraiser to get a refinance and get a different loan to get out of your PMI, your mortgage insurance, then this just helps you do it much faster. And ultimately, you're going to cash flow so much better. And if you wanted to sell the property, you'd be able to sell the property at a much greater gain simply because the property makes more money. Investors want to buy properties that make money. The more money it makes, the more they're willing to pay. Now, the good thing about the small 2 to 4 unit deal, for example, is that there's not big time investors going after these little deals, because the profits aren't there in comparison to a 10, 20, 30, 50 unit apartment building where they could simply just go in and buy a big building and increase the rents across all the units, fix them up, and make a fortune. But to go spend the time, effort, and energy and money to go buy a little 3 or 4 unit apartment building, it's not really worth it for them. So they bypass these deals. So there's less competition for these deals, and you're able to get 30-year fixed rate debt at very low interest rates today, and ultimately get away from paying rent and just set yourself up. All it takes is this one deal. I'm going to show you this real life example of a property that's currently on the market, and I'll show you how I found this deal. The difference between my channel and just about everybody else is that I'll respond to any questions and comments. I also have a free real estate investing mini course I'll ping right here. You can click there and feel free to go through at the end of this video and ask me any questions that you have. But in the meantime, let's go on to the example. All right, guys, I'm gonna give you a real life example, show you how I found this deal and how this is all gonna work. That way you simply understand it better. And I think examples are the best way. So go to loopnet.com. I found this deal. It's a fourplex. It's 2 duplexes. So what a duplex is, it's 2 apartments that share a roof. They have a shared roof. So you have a duplex in the front and a duplex in the back. This property is listed for $330,000. So I'm on Zillow using a mortgage calculator. So let's pretend that we're putting 10% down, which is then $33,000. So we're putting $33,000 down, and the mortgage payment is $1,712 per month, which is pretty damn cheap. I mean, that's like rent for the most part. And you're now collecting rent on 3 doors if you're living in one of these units. The interior of the building is pretty nice. The lot size is roughly 10,000 square feet, which is a nice sized lot. It's roughly a quarter of an acre of land. So it looks pretty good to me. It looks pretty nice. I'm not so sure about the neighborhood, but the overall price point and what you're getting is pretty attractive. The price per unit is $82,500 per unit, which is also very affordable because the cost to rebuild this property would be much greater than $82,000 per unit, especially with today's permit cost and just the cost of the land, cost of construction, cost of labor. All this would be much greater than $82,500 per unit. So the overall annual and effective gross income is $36,000. So that means that it's $3,000 per month is the gross income. So your mortgage being $1,712, that would afford you the opportunity to occupy one of those units, and the rents from the other 3 units would far exceed the cost to operate and manage that building and service the mortgage, and you basically live for free. So everything that you're making is going right to the bank, and this is the best way to be. I'm telling you, especially as we go into this future that we're looking at, which is filled of automation and competition for jobs, and it's just going to get much harder, I think, to be successful 10 and 20 years down the road than it is today. So you getting these multi-unit properties and making really smart investments, buying smart investments, is going to make your life so much easier. And if you have children or plan to have children, this is going to set them up, because in the future this is all going to be paid off, and this building is going to be like a piggy bank that's just printing cash every single month, and it's just going to be super attractive. So I really love this for a first-time buy, this type of situation where you live for free, live in one of those units. The adjacent rents, you can always increase the rents, especially if you understand the market and you understand what the comparables are in your area. So you know that rents actually could be increased because you went to apartments.com, you looked online, you saw it. And if there's no lease in place, you're able to increase the rent. And if there is a lease in place at the end of the lease, you can increase the rent, or you could ask them to move out and fix it up and increase the rents. It depends on where you live. Landlord-tenant laws vary state to state, but this is a perfect example, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Please hit that like button, drop your comments below, subscribe. If you're a new subscriber, let me know in the comment section. I'll personally welcome you to the channel, and many more financial education videos, business, money, passive income, and real estate content to come. All right, guys, see you in the next video.